Stream it or skip it. Jerry Springer fights camera action. Grab a drink, grab a snack, and let's go back. Hi guys, and welcome back to another episode of Gen X Unfiltered, the podcast.
What's up, everybody?
Hello out there.
Steve, Eric, how are you today?
Good to see you guys.
Good to see you, Kelly and Steve.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Like, welcome back, Carter.
You would have seen a podcast before this, but after a long break, we are back to regularly scheduled programming.
That's right. We had a nice, like you said, we've done one already, but we had a nice long holiday break.
Hiatus.
Mm-hmm.
Partially planned, partially just happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's just how it goes sometimes, you know?
It does.
Sometimes, like, you know what? It's kind of nice having some time off. Let's just enjoy it.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so like the title suggests, we are talking about the Jerry Springer documentary on, was it on Netflix?
Netflix.
Called
Big Red.
Fights Camera Action.
That's right. It's very dramatic.
I know, super dramatic.
So very quickly, here's a synopsis for those of you that have not seen it yet and to kind of refresh our little bird brains.
Yeah, it's a few days ago we watched it. We watched it the day it came out on Tuesday, I think it was.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I thought it was last week. Was it really only like 2 days ago?
It was only 2 days ago,
Tuesday,
yeah.
Or was it
Holy
Wednesday?
shit.
Tuesday or Wednesday?
Yeah.
All right, well, whatever. Time flies when you're watching trash TV. All right, Jerry Springer Fights Camera Action is a 2-part documentary series released on Netflix on January 7th, 2025, offering an in-depth exploration.
Just making sure I saw the red light on it. I'm trying to be subtle, but...
That's okay, I'll just... Steve just kind of did this with
Weird, I was just trying to see it on my iPad to make sure that the audio is recording.
I thought he was like having a stroke or something.
I thought he was trying to dip out early. He's like, I'm out of here.
Okay, January 7th, 2025, offering an in-depth exploration of the Jerry Springer Show, which aired from 1991 to 2018. Directed by Luke Sewell, the series delves into the show's transformation from a serious talk show to a sensational spectacle known for its outrageous confrontations and brawls. Before we get into any, gritty of it, I don't know, you guys don't have to share your thoughts, but I wanted to kind of get my very overview initial thoughts after watching this to start off, because maybe you'll sway me, maybe you won't, and you guys can do the same thing if you want.
Possibly.
Yeah.
So my initial thoughts after watching it was, I don't know. I didn't know how to really feel about it. I kind of thought the documentary sucked a little bit, but I kind of thought it was good.
Yeah.
But I was kind of disturbed by it. I don't know. It was a weird feeling when I was done. I don't even know why.
None of it surprised me watching the documentary. That's the thing, learning sort of the characters behind the scenes and all this stuff.
I don't know if it's because I was expecting more of it was very much a documentary just about the show and how it developed.
Yeah.
For some reason I was thinking it was going to be more, I don't know.
I thought I was going to talk more about some of the cultural impact it had on TV.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of copycats that happened after Jerry Springer, right?
Yeah.
There was his there's security guard, Steve Wilkos.
Yeah.
He had his own talk show. And then Maury Povich, his show very much became sort of a similar format to Jerry Springer, kind of sensational stories.
Yeah, they all kind of went down that more trashy TV stuff.
Yeah, exactly. They didn't touch on that at all, though.
No, not at all.
So, I think it might have been different. Clearly Jerry Springer, R.I.P., he passed away a couple years ago.
Yeah.
So, that's obviously a big part. They had just had old clips of him talking.
Yeah, and they had a stand-in sort of acting as him in a few scenes.
So, I don't know, maybe if he was still alive and he was part of this documentary and hearing his thoughts on it, it might have made it more, it might have given it more dimension.
There was a big voice missing in this documentary. And that was Jerry.
It would have really helped because...
a lot of people were sort of giving their impressions of how he was or what he thought and stuff like that. So maybe that's what was kind of just a little bit missing for me.
You're missing not having Jerry Springer on it. That's a huge piece of the puzzle missing because obviously he's the face of this whole thing and, getting his thoughts and how he felt about it because obviously it goes from his before on TV to where he is now and stuff.
I think one of the things was because everybody who worked with him said he was the nicest guy, he was super sweet, he was whatever, and I don't doubt that. But then there was sort of the impression, in the media, he was considered this dirtbag who was letting the show happen. But then the producers and some of them were kind of just it was weird because we don't really know how much he knew was being manufactured and how much he didn't.
There was a very big layer between him and the show, right? Which was the producers.
What they say.
But we don't know because he's not here, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's why it's a little like, but I'm not getting the full story. Obviously, we can't. He passed away.
And they're going to, you're hearing one side of the story from the people who created the show who, want to maintain maybe Jerry's legacy and whatever. Yeah. So it's very hard to determine how real it was.
I think all of us, our age and older, know the Jerry Springer Show and have watched it at some point in their life.
Oh, yeah.
I had no idea it was on until 2018.
That shocked me.
What?
When they said it was on until 2018, I thought it got canceled like way before that.
What?
No, I know. It was on a long time.
Oh,
but, was it still as risque? I can't imagine in 2018.
That's sort of what they get alluded to is that once, the guy who started that producer.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll get into
Richard Dominic or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Once he left, it became kind of like sort of a more watered down version of it, and he just kept cranking out the episodes and kind of didn't.
Yeah.
He was always trying to make it more and more outrageous, where it was kind of like, we know what we do. Let's just.
Yeah, but even he said that was an unsustainable formula, right? Because you can't just keep topping yourself over and over again. You eventually hit a peak.
Okay,
exactly.
Let's just roll back quickly before we get too far into it, just to sort of start at the basic beginning. We have very basic notes with us today, so we're going off a lot on memory, so we may not be 100% accurate. We're doing our best.
Yeah. We're not, obviously encouraging.
We're just reviewing it.
Yeah.
So we just watched it. This is just our opinions of it, but it kind of obviously starts out with a little basic knowledge of Jerry Springer and how he started. He was a serious news guy. He wanted to be a news guy who did politics. He wanted to be in politics.
Yeah.
But it rolls back even a little bit further. He was a mayor of Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Which is like, what? This guy was in politics.
I remember, I knew that for sure. I remember hearing that back in the day that he was the mayor and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it's weird to see they eventually have footage of him in City Hall or whatever. It's
so
weird.
He had a really good career as a news person. He was well respected. He was smart. He was well respected. So I think that's when people kind of see that and then kind of see where it ended up. They're like, what?
That's kind of the strangeness of it all. He started out very altruistic.
Yeah.
Even with his show, right? He still wanted to be in politics. That's kind of the thing. He always kind of maybe envisioned turning this into a Senate run or a congressman or something like that.
So
so he wanted to be wholesome and,
It's the show started out very wholesome. Yeah.
So that's the thing.
Nobody cared.
The show started out because we're also talking about the era where there was 100 million talk shows. We had. Sally Jesse Raphael, we had Donahue,
Phil Donahue,
we had
Oprah,
Geraldo, there was so many.
And Oprah was they started talking, she was the queen of the daytime shows. She was the one to try and beat.
That kind of goes into the transition of how it was a wholesome regular talk show to got a little bit cray cray was because of the I'm looking for his name, Richard Dominic's direction. He was the executive producer, and he was kind of we're not because in that talk shows it was all about ratings. If you had shitty ratings, you were gone.
No, they said if you didn't get 2 million views, you were
done.
You would be off the air.
Exactly. He knew how to make things sensational. He came from that tabloid world.
Well, that's the thing. Exactly. He worked for the
World News,
or whatever. So that's crazy.
Yeah, the one that would say Elvis is an alien or UFOs have landed and taken the president's brain or whatever.
But he knew,
crazy headlines.
But he knew that it sold.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
He's even though people may not believe it, it still sells.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The more outlandish it was, the better it did.
And he took that formula and applied it to the Jerry Springer show, basically.
So when he joined the Jerry Springer show, that's when he started shifting from the serious topics to the sensational content aimed at high ratings through dramatic conflicts. Sorry, I'm getting tongue-tied. I'm trying to talk fast. And all of the documentary is mostly Richard Dominic talking, and then a couple of the producers, Tobias. I'm not even going to say last names because I don't want to butcher them. But Tobias, he was a Jerry Springer producer. Yeah. And Annette and Melinda were producers. Those were sort of the three main people that were talking.
They talked about, yeah.
And hearing their, stories was interesting, especially Tobias. He was definitely, he said.
He came he was a bartender.
Yeah.
Had no experience whatsoever, and they hired him as a producer. And they're like, oh, you're a bartender, you know how to talk to people, you do good.
Yeah.
Well, their literal job was just to get the craziest story.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was their job. They would try to find the guests, and vet their stories, and then put them on the air.
Mm-hmm. So things got quickly they got crazy because the ratings were showing it. So I think one of the biggest I think it was Tobias. He got a phone call from a guy, and I know I'm probably skipping ahead, but like these are sort of the major parts of the show. When he got a phone call from a guy who said, "I'm married to my horse."
He left his wife and kids for his horse.
Yeah.
And Tobias was like, "Whoa, WTF? Like, there's no way Richard, the executive producer, is going to go for this. Like, I have to try and pitch this.
This is too out there.
This is
There's no way they would ever do this on TV. Yeah.
So he did, and Richard was just like, yeah.
No, how do you get the horse here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was his
concern. Is the horse going to be there?
Is the horse going to be there?
Is the horse going to be there? Yeah.
So they did. They got the horse. They got the guy. Now, I think in the documentary, so the whole thing was they wanted to keep it a really big secret.
They didn't want the crowd to know what was going on. They didn't until they wanted to get a live reaction from the audience seeing the horse come out of it.
So Jerry
and clue in that this guy is married to a horse.
So Jerry talks to the guy on stage and then says, "And bring in your wife," and then they bring in the horse, right?
And then they cut to the crowd. And
so this was I don't know. I mean, it was the it was the 90s. I guess you could get away with crap like this, but I mean, it was definitely inappropriate. Definitely, like, just ugh,
oh, it's even
cringe.
watching it now where the guy's like,
it was gross.
It was
disturbing. Like,
yeah. So basically, the guy went on camera. His horse was there. He was. I mean, I hate to say because it's just so inappropriate to say, but I mean, really, he was making it with his horse on TV.
He was tongue kissing his horse.
Yeah, it was just so inappropriate and disgusting.
Yeah, it was gross.
Well, they said, and that thing was the one where it only aired
it aired in New York, and that was it.
Well, no, the first airing when it was in New York because they were Eastern time zone.
Yeah.
It came up and they were like, "Nope," and it got canceled everywhere.
Everyone else pulled out of it. They're like, "We're not showing this." Yeah.
And then he got slammed in the papers after that. Remember, like they said, like Jerry Springer like had like bestiality on TV and stuff.
He
like,
did
exactly. So he got but what did that lead to? Bigger ratings.
Well, it did.
It's the way it always happens. When people think this should ruin the show. It's like,
exactly.
Nope. Now everyone's like, I got to watch the show and see what
they doubled down on the crazy, and it led to more success.
They realized, hey, we can keep pushing this line, and we're not going to lose people. We're going to gain more.
So I'm just reading through this to make sure I get. Okay, so then they also, I mean, that was one of the big things that they talked about.
Yeah, that was like sort of the apex of like, once they did that, they're like, okay, now we can.
Now the show's all crazy.
Now we're going all in.
Another interesting thing that Richard said, which you guys are just drinking your tequila. If you hear the slurping, that's them drinking their tequila.
A little sip of,
That's right.
Another thing that I thought was, it was an interesting concept, but it worked. So Richard, the executive producer's whole thing was he would tell the producers, watch the TV with no volume and flip through the channels. And if anything makes you stop without volume, we need to do that because there's a reason why you're stopping with no volume.
Yeah. That was his whole thing. He's like, I want, someone late at night, whatever, flipping through the TV. They see what they see. They hit Jerry Springer show. What the hell is this? I want to stop and watch that.
And that's where the era of just everybody being naked on Jerry Springer came from.
Yeah.
Yeah. Naked and fights. That's they realized people wanted to see fights. They realized that quickly too, that when people started throwing hands, it was like, oh.
The fight era came a bit later though. Like they were doing the naked stuff, like I don't wear clothes and sitting there. Because the whole fight thing was kind of a little bit later.
Yeah. They had the neo-Nazis on. The KKK members they brought out like the Jewish Defense League.
Exactly.
And they, within seconds, started throwing punches.
Two obvious conflicting ideals, and then boom.
Yeah.
Fights broke out
so
on stage.
Gross, though. Like, it just, I think maybe that's why I felt, it's just, bleh. Like, it's just icky.
Well, and especially like they say, like, it's Jerry Springer whose parents survived the Holocaust.
Yeah.
It's like, really? This is what you want to be doing?
And this is
on
the one
TV?
thing
like, this is the topic you want to cover?
Yeah. It's one of the things the documentary didn't really touch on. It was like, was this show problematic? Like,
duh.
Yeah, but they never really answered that question in the documentary. Like, was the show good or bad? They never said.
Well, honestly, especially the producer, I don't think he cared.
No, he doesn't care.
He was like, I don't.
No.
It's not
my. So, the Richard guy, yeah.
No, he doesn't care. They want to make money and ratings.
Yeah,
and so their whole goal became, because Oprah was the top of the ratings, and the whole thing was everybody's like, you're never going to beat Oprah, but they were slowly climbing up and they were underneath Oprah.
Yeah.
And was it what episode was it that took it over? They took over first place. Was it the horse one?
I can't remember
now. I can't remember now, but they do talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they finally passed Oprah in the ratings.
They toppled Oprah.
Oprah.
Which they loved because Oprah had been on, being interviewed, being like, "What do you think of the Jerry Springer show?" And she obviously didn't hold back about how.
Well, it's a
She thought it was trash.
Yeah.
Well, it is trash.
Oh, completely. And that's the thing. Like the producer, these producers, we're just giving people what they want, right? That's what that's what most people say.
And that's
don't blame me. I just give people what they want. It's like, well, yeah, but you have some responsibility in this.
Yeah, it's a weird thing, right? Because if people didn't watch, there would be no show.
Yeah.
But they did, and so they just kept doing the crazy.
It's kind of interesting if you think about it, because it's sort of, I think I said this during the documentary, it was like rage bait before rage bait was a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's basically it's like clickbait, whatever.
Well, it's rage bait. So
Yeah.
you see all these people on TikTok, they'll come on and they'll have like an opposing stance on something just to be controversial because they know they'll get a shit ton of views and they don't care.
Yeah.
Oh, there's lots of people that like that.
It's like was rage bait before it was rage bait.
Yeah, no, it's wrestling. It's kayfabe. It's it's a job. It's a work.
It's a work.
Yeah.
It's people going bad in wrestling, saying the things that just to piss you
I
off.
remember watching the show thinking like this has to be fake. This has to be a setup, right?
That is sort of.
They touch on that. The producers touch on what happened, right?
Yeah.
Well, that is sort of the biggest thing is everybody's like, oh, it's staged, it's fake, it's staged. No, they did have interviews with some past guests, which some pretty, significant things happened that we'll talk about. But, I feel like it's a mix of like, it's hard because some of the guests now, like, are they just like bitter about like, and I don't know. Well, I mean, I don't think it was all real. I think the guests were well, they showed clips of the producers coaching.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Yeah. Exactly that is that it was real. But what they would do then is they'd give these people who had never been anywhere before, who came from
that's right,
so they would,
small town,
so they would fly them in free flights, limousine service, free food, fly them with alcohol, and then before the show goes live, the producer they're hyping them up. Yeah. You're angry. You're so mad. You want to punch this guy in the face. You can't believe, like, you're going to let this person talk to you. You can't let them embarrass you. Like, you got to go out there and do something about go, and then put them on stage and go.
But they showed a clip of the producer coaching that one woman, and she's like, it was basically like a cheating thing.
They were having what was going to happen on stage.
Yeah, exactly. And the woman was like, she basically gave up. She's like, fine, you can have him. I'm done with him. And the producer's like, no, that's the wrong answer.
Yeah.
You don't give up here. You like say like why you want your man. You're going to fight for him now.
Yeah.
Well, that kind of
basically building up the conflict
because they want people to fight.
Yeah.
They knew that. That's what people want to see.
Exactly.
One of the producers literally talked about how, like, and I'm just repeating what the documentary said, no shade to any of these places I mentioned. This is just what they said in the documentary. Yeah. But it was basically like the Jerry Triangle of where all their guests came from.
Yeah, they call it like the Bermuda Triangle, the Jerry Triangle, like, whatever. In the southern states to wherever
Ohio, went up to Hawaii, Ohio. They're like, you didn't see anybody from California on there. You didn't see anybody from New York City on there.
Because it was funny. They said they got burned once by a couple from Boston, right?
Yeah.
Eric's jumping ahead.
Oh, sorry.
He gives me so much stress.
Sorry, I did it again.
But they said there's, there was a certain area of the state of the country where all of their guests came from.
And like Steve said, they would just ply them with alcohol. They'd ply them with drugs. I mean, some of the past former guests literally were like, we were just drunk and stoned the whole time we were there.
Yeah.
They said they were partying till like 4 a.m. 5 a.m. was a crew call.
Yeah.
So they got woken up after an hour of sleep and hyped up to go do the show.
And then also too it's like, hey, if you're gonna leave, you gotta your plane ticket's not waiting for you. You gotta fly yourself home.
Yeah.
Well,
and people are like, well, I can't afford to fly home.
So
it's like so they
I'll follow through the show
stuff like that. Yeah.
So there was, and again, like I know probably for the listeners we're jumping back and forth, but as we talk about it, we remember things, and it's hard to remember exactly what order they happened.
Yeah.
But then so there was real life consequences. I mean, there was probably a lot more real life consequences than we know of, but as far as the one in the documentary,
so like basically this, like you said, this documentary, it's 2 episodes. They're each one's like an hour long, 49 minutes. But the first episode is literally just Jerry Springer and his rise to the top. The second episode totally focused on some of the fallout that happened in real life with the guests.
So there was one of the most, I actually had never heard this story before. I mean, I don't know. I'm not like whatever, but I just thought maybe I would have remembered hearing it.
Yeah.
But so there was, it was a guy talking about how his mother went on the show, and she was going on the show because she was married to somebody and he had left her, was cheating on her and married somebody else.
Yeah.
And he said, my mom was kind of a lonely person. She just went. So they went on the show. She's sitting there. The girlfriend's there. The girlfriend's trying to get her to fight. And
Yeah,
she's just
trying
very
to-
like, almost scarily just like calm. And she's
Yeah.
just like,
Yeah.
and so back and forth happens. She doesn't fight. And you can tell that like the producers and stuff are like, why won't this woman get off her chair and fight?
Yeah,
Like
she's
they
not
really
really-
wanted her to fight.
Get in there, yeah.
And she
Yeah.
was just sitting there. And so finally the guy comes out and he's like, oh no, I married her last night. And she's like, okay. And got up and left.
Yeah, she just walked off the stage.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she just
So-
actually left, and yeah.
So they ran after her and were like, you got to come back. And she's like, no. And they're like, okay, well, you don't have a plane ticket home, like Steve was saying. So and because like Steve said, they know a lot of these people or the demographic of people that are coming on the
Yeah.
show don't have money for a plane ticket home.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
she left. The son's telling the story that she left. It was raining. She walked to the bus station. She
yeah.
got a ticket. She went home, blah, 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 blah.
They were in Florida, right? I think is where she
Can't
went
remember
to.
where
I think,
it was.
I'm pretty sure it was
or she went
Florida.
to Florida or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's where she lives. They were from.
And then it comes out, like, we don't need all the details of it, but then it comes out where she was murdered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was her ex-husband or husband or whatever you want to call him at the time, and the new girlfriend
The other two people from the show. Yeah.
Yeah.
killed her.
Yeah.
And, like, she was not a problematic guest. Like I said, if you watch it, she's just sitting there.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. There was. Yeah. It was a weird. The episode itself didn't seem it was super scandalous or none of that at all.
No.
No. And so, I mean, that's so I think the saddest part about it was the son was saying that when she left, nobody from the show, no producers ever reached out to find out if she got home okay.
No.
Never
Yeah.
reached out, like nothing. It was
Yeah.
like literally when she stepped off that lot, didn't exist.
Yeah,
anymore.
exactly. Well, she was kind of misguided. She thought she'd go on the show and that they would help her kind of
Yeah.
reconnect with her husband.
Yes.
And then Bruce just said that like a lot of these guests, they're coming on the show thinking that we're going to help them.
Yeah.
And they're like, we're not here to help them.
No.
No.
And then there was no like after show like, oh, we're
No.
gonna get you in touch
No.
with, because that's the thing we didn't talk
Yeah.
about that. But there was also then you kind of learn on this too. Like there was a history of abuse between this
Yes.
before
Yeah.
the show
There's no
too. Like,
vetting of guests. It's
No.
literally like, is this their story? Will they tell it on camera? Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
So the guy had been a few times. Had been the
He was
cops
a
there.
terrible
yeah,
guy.
He's a horrible guy.
Yeah.
That was beating her up and stuff like that. And so yeah,
But there was no vetting done.
No,
it's
they
not
just-
like the shows where like, you go through like a series of vetting to make sure your stories, whatever. It
Yeah.
was not that. It was
No, no,
literally
no.
like, are you willing to come on TV and kiss
yeah,
a horse?
you're willing to come on here and talk about this shit? Okay, cool, good.
And-
You're on.
That's why it just feels icky, because it was just, I get why they did it. I mean,
Yeah.
it was the 90s. It was all about the
Well, it's shock, like Howard Stern, right? The shock
Yeah.
jock. It was
Yeah.
all about that, like how scandalous can you be? How outrageous can you be? Say something crazy, have weird guests. Like that's
Yeah.
all it was about.
Yeah.
And yeah, this lady, it's sad because she paid with her life.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and the son was telling the story obviously because she's not here. So yeah, it was very sad, and just sort of the like, the no follow up, like not even checking to see if she made it
No,
home.
no,
No,
I know
no.
it's a very, very sad story.
I just want to go back really quickly because I just had a thought that we never mentioned, and I wanted to mention it, and now Eric was just talking about it and I forgot it.
What?
I don't know. You just said something that made me think of something that
Personal
happened.
responsibility.
Personal-
Watching the
No,
show.
it wasn't that. It was something. Anyway, I guess it wasn't important.
The producer's dad was not working at SNL.
No. It wasn't that. It was just something minor that I was like, oh, that's a good thing that happened. Not a good thing, but a point to
This
mention.
is why we don't talk. When we turn the cameras
no.
off.
So I was going to say, so back when they were in their like fight era of everything, one of the things was that everybody was like, the fights are fake. Like wrestling, they're fake.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
And the producer said that they were not fake. I mean, maybe like the whole like amping them up was like whatever, but when they fought, like people got scalps ripped, they
Yeah,
had
yeah.
nails ripped off,
Oh,
like
yeah.
it was fights.
Well, because from what I remember, that Steve Wilkos, who was like one of the security guys, he was a cop, I think, and
But-
he would just do this like his overtime.
Which is super weird because he was obviously a giant part of the show and wasn't mentioned once in that documentary.
No,
No.
it wasn't mentioned
Literally
once.
not
Wasn't in it
once.
at all.
No.
not at all.
Yeah,
Because
And
he had his own show,
Yeah,
too.
Yeah.
and actually, that's one of the things I sort of talking about that too. With like they say, again, it's hard to say because you don't know, but they kept saying like Jerry was adamant that everything on the stage was real.
Yeah.
He didn't want
Right.
fake fight. Like everything had to be real. Everyone was real. There was no actors.
Yeah.
There was no fake punches.
Yeah.
Everything was real. That was his big thing. He wanted to be
So
authentic.
that kind of transitions into one of the stories that the
Yeah,
producer
yeah.
was saying is that it was so popular that the pressure was so high on these producers to continually like bring
Bringing the
it.
big numbers
Yeah.
for ratings. Yeah.
And yeah,
Find the next crazy guy
Like-
that married a horse.
like Steve said, like Jerry, so to speak, because he's not here to speak for himself, but
Yeah.
they all said he was very much like nothing can be fake.
Yeah, like we're not
I
paying
guess
actors to be
for
on this
some
show.
reason that he was worried about his reputation in that way.
Which I always thought was ironic that like, watching this thing, I was like, really?
Not to mention the scandal he was in with the porn stars. I mean, you do
Oh
you.
yeah.
Yeah, he
You
slept,
do
with,
you.
he slept with guests.
I mean,
Yeah.
he's like 60
Yeah.
years old at that point.
He
or
was
50.
he wasn't married, so
Yeah.
Do whatever
Yeah.
you want to do.
No,
Yeah.
I mean, not even that, but it's like the guy that hosts this show is sleeping with some of the guests that are porn stars. Like,
it shouldn't shock anyone.
I'm
really.
not shocked at all. Yeah.
No.
It's so weird because
He
even
should have done on the show.
because even
Have some cojones.
For some
Even
ratings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
talking about this now just giving me such an ick factor because the show is just so icky as an adult looking back on it.
It is. It's weird looking back on it. I remember watching it when I was like younger, like in high school and stuff, and like thinking, "Oh my god, this is insane."
Because I don't think I thought it was real.
It was so out there that
Yeah.
it was hard to believe it was real.
Well, I
Yeah.
always thought it's like there's got to be
I think it's
like,
scripted,
yeah.
scripted or like
but I
Yeah.
think like the emotion because what did the one producer said? He's like, I was really effing good at getting people to bring up their emotions.
well,
Yeah.
like you said, that's what they would do. They would take them backstage and sort of be like, "You're mad, you're angry,"
Yep.
like
This
sort of
person
trying to
did you
push
wrong.
their
Yeah.
buttons and get them to get fired
Yeah.
up. People who
Yeah.
would normally not fight, get them to
Yeah.
ready to go out there and start throwing punches.
It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
So anyway, back to the story
Yeah, I was
before
gonna
we
say-
off kiltered. So one of the producers, I don't know which one, it was one of the female producers, the older lady, and she was talking about how she got a call. I don't remember all the details of this, so one of you who remembers. I remember
Well, I mean,
it was.
Sorry, go ahead.
I don't remember why they called. They called to be on the show.
It was
like-
some sort of love triangle
Love
type
triangle.
thing. I don't remember the specifics.
And she
but
said right away, she's like, I should have known better, but I was so focused on getting the next big
because,
story.
yeah.
They said they were from Boston, and
Yeah.
that wasn't in the Jerry
She's like,
Springer
we-
triangle.
Outside the triangle.
No,
Yeah.
we never ever get
Guests from Boston.
guests from
Yeah.
Boston, but
Long story short,
she
they come
brought
on the
them
show.
and stuff. Yeah.
And how did it? What happened? I don't know why I can't remember.
They started out throwing punches, but it was obviously like fake
Yes.
punches.
Yeah, they realized
They
they
were-
were.
They're missing each other on purpose and stuff, and like this is so obviously a fake
And
put
Jerry
on,
was-
They were-
put on fight right now.
Yeah, they were watching from behind the.
well, Jerry was pissed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the producer was like, well, she got fired over it.
got
Yeah,
fired.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because she didn't vet them properly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she's like, it's so funny because she's like, I should have known as soon as I said they were from Boston.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they said none of them knew until they started to have their fight on stage, and they're like, these people aren't really like.
This story's not
They're,
real.
they're fake fighting. You
Yeah.
can see them.
I wish they had
They're
got.
here just to be on TV.
I wish
Yeah.
they had got them for the documentary.
That would have been
That
better,
would've
yeah.
been interesting. Yeah,
It would have been better actually if they had a lot more of like the former guests on the show.
or just more of like they did. It was good. They had I forget his name. We had it written down there. The TV critic
Yeah.
who was
yeah,
who was from Chicago and obviously not a fan of the show and thought it was
No.
pure trash. So
Yeah.
it was
Robert Feder.
Robert Feder. So at least they had a dissenting point of view because
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, having the producer of the shows and the executive producer, although even the producers, they were kind of like, you know,
Okay.
They talked about it was like a pressure cooker working there.
Oh yeah, it was,
Yeah.
and that Richard guy, the executive producer, was not a nice man. He would get angry at
well, they said
you.
Yeah.
he'd walk around with a smoking
yeah.
a cigar and
He
just
was-
Oh yeah.
Not
Like,
a nice man.
something
No.
was a bit of a bully. And,
So Tobias, the main, I think his last name is Yoshimura.
Yeah.
so yeah,
But he was sort of talking about it, and he had an interesting story about how his sort of time ended at Jerry Springer. I mean, he ended up. I'll tell the story really quick, and then Eric had some information that I forgot about him.
Yeah.
With his whatever. So he was vetting a person, and they had said, I don't know what they had said. It was some sex scandal again.
Yeah.
They put them up in the hotel room. He goes to the hotel
Oh, yeah.
room to talk to them before the show. There's something with a father and
it was
daughter.
a woman who was a prostitute, and the whole story. She called and said, "I want my father to stop being my client.
Yeah.
My father's paying me hiring me as a prostitute.
Yeah,
I
but-
want him to stop. I want to
okay.
confront him to stop doing it."
So that was
which
the
is a
story.
completely
Messed
Anyway,
up story. Yeah.
So he goes to the hotel to talk to them. He knocks on the door.
She answers the door.
Well, yeah, I'm just gonna just say
You're-
I'm really sorry because this is not appropriate at all. I'm gonna gloss over it really fast. And
Yeah.
just,
Sorry, you're just going to skip over one key part here, though.
okay. Well.
They weren't in the same hotel room at all. They didn't even know they were there. They were completely separated.
Right.
They didn't know. So
Yeah.
So they were in separate hotel rooms. They didn't want each other to know they were there for
Yeah.
for that reason.
the episode. Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah.
he goes to the girls' hotel room, knocks on the door to talk to her, whatever. The dad answers the door. Or did she answer the door?
She answers the door.
answers the door. He looks in the room, and the dad is sitting on the bed, and neither one of them
In a
are
towel, yeah.
dressed.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
they had clearly
And
just finished in the bedroom.
Yeah, well, and he literally was like, left.
Yeah.
I can't
And he
do this.
he didn't go back to the show.
No.
So he
Yeah.
he ghosted. They're calling like whatever. And then Richard's like, you're not coming back, are you? And he's like, no.
Yeah.
No,
But he did come
He
back.
did go back for another 2-3 years, I think it was.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he was like done. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that was his breaking point. I'm like, I guess everybody has a breaking point
Yeah.
at some point.
I could
but
see
like,
that as like the story itself of a prostitute who's
Yeah.
my dad's
But-
my John, but I don't want him to be, and I'm going to confront him on TV. And
But I'm confused because no, it doesn't matter because I don't even want to talk about it. It just makes me so grossed out and
Yeah.
horrible that these
That
people.
was Tobias's breaking point, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
was
But,
like,
um,
yeah,
Sorry, Eric. What were you saying about him?
Oh, just Tobias, like he's got a pretty, the show messed him up pretty good.
Yeah.
When,
Yeah,
when you hear him
yeah,
talking
yeah.
about it, like he's like,
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about this show anymore.
Yeah.
And so like, he actually has some like TV roots in this family. Like his dad was a set designer on SNL.
yeah,
And so his dad thought very little of him working on the Jerry Springer show. He's like, what I
Yeah.
do is TV. What you do is not.
It's trash,
It's trash. And so, they didn't talk for 4 years after that. And then Tobias himself, he had a bunch of substance abuse problems from working on the show and kind of
Yeah.
like the schedule and stuff.
well,
He was,
yeah, he basically lived there.
basically lived at the office. He was drinking tequila all the time to get through the shows.
Yeah,
And
then-
when tequila stopped working, he moved on to cocaine.
Yeah,
And so he had substance abuse problems on top of everything else.
yeah. Oh, yeah. It sounded
Yeah.
like it was not a good work
So
environment.
no.
Well,
I don't think work-life balance was the thing on the Jerry Springer show.
I mean, not even that, which is bad enough in itself, but just what you are, whether it's real or not, or exaggerated or not stories, what you're exposed to every day is
Yeah.
just like horrific for anybody.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh no.
horrific
And they
for
said they
anybody.
did like 200 and something shows a year. So it was like each producer had to do like 40 shows a year. So that's
Yeah.
that's a lot to try and find the guest with this crazy story.
Yeah.
Get them and then get them on camera, on stage, ready to fight. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, they said it was week to week sometimes, just trying to get the shows done. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
Like find the guest for each show.
Because you're trying to find it. You don't just want to have like, I cheated this. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
that's too.
We did that
that's
already.
too plain. That's too
Yeah.
vanilla. We need like the next level of it.
Yeah, we need like the guy that's messing around with his horse.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
daughter, father, or whatever
Yeah.
the hell that's going on, and like just
I-
crazy stuff.
I don't like it. I don't know. It's just such a. After watching that documentary, it just felt weird. I
It
don't
did.
know. I don't know if it felt weird because I almost felt guilty for watching it 20
Totally.
years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Because I remember watching it, and then like it was everywhere, and then like they had like the Too Hot for TV
Yeah.
like VHS tapes that came out.
I had one of those.
It was like the uncensored,
It
obviously.
was the uncensored
yeah.
stuff, and then Jerry Springer had his own movie called
Ringmaster.
Ringmaster.
I don't think I ever saw it, but I remember it
Yeah,
coming out.
and it was just like I remember watching it back then, but now looking back, I'm like, it definitely felt weird.
Well, because it was on like I remember it was on like 4 o'clock in the afternoon or something.
Yeah.
I remember being on after school.
Yeah,
I just have to like wonder, and I mean, it sounds terrible because I mean he's dead, he can't. But I wish I could hear from him because whether he would or not, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I mean, everybody's perception of him, people he worked with, like everybody's perception of him was that he was literally the nicest human being on the planet. He had
Yeah.
a daughter who had special needs.
I was gonna
and-
say like they
and she
yeah.
was the light of his life, and he was still like in contact with his ex-wife,
Yeah,
and like
yeah.
he lived a very outside of the camera a very like humble life. But like, why would somebody who's so good like that want to? I mean, money, I guess.
I can only assume it was that and the fame.
I mean,
Yeah.
he,
The two of
he
them, like
at one
people get a
point.
taste of that, and it's like
At one
yes,
point, he signed like a $30 million contract. I mean, this guy was making lots of money off Jerry Springer.
Oh, yeah, no, that he
30 million bucks in daytime TV money is a lot.
and
Yeah.
then,
Back
especially in like 25 years ago.
Yeah.
He did very well for himself for sure.
Oh yeah,
But I wonder if when he was done with the show, which again was only like 7 years ago, which is so bizarre.
No,
Yeah.
I know.
I know.
I
'Cause he
wonder-
died in 2023, right?
2 or 3?
23, I think
One
you
of the
said.
two.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Yeah.
so he had like 5 years where he didn't do the show. But I wonder, I'm just curious. I wonder, maybe there's interviews out there. I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
Google Jerry Springer. But if he ever had like regrets about it, you
Who
would have
knows?
to. How could me just watching it feels icky?
Yeah,
Considering his intent, like when he first started the show and where it ended up, I would have to think there'd be some regret there.
I would think so. Yeah, because he
Yeah.
started out as a politician, and
Yeah.
then
He was a journalist
doing
and a
news,
politician.
and then he wanted to do like wholesome, family friendly daytime talk show
Do you
stuff.
remember one of the first clips they showed? It was this woman who hadn't seen her daughter in like 20 years.
Yeah.
So it was like they were doing like reuniting of mothers and daughters.
Yeah.
Things like that, right?
Yeah, like nice stuff.
Yeah.
and then
So, I mean,
And then it ended
do
up,
we?
Yeah.
Is it like Richard's fault? I mean, but he was given the green light to do it. I mean, I know he's the executive producer, but he's not the like end-all be-all
No, I
say.
mean,
The networks have to have say.
I would think so. The networks and Jerry Springer would have. I mean, Jerry Springer is the face of the show, so.
And they also alluded to the fact that Jerry didn't they alluded. Well, they said, whether it's true or not, that literally Jerry Springer didn't he didn't know all the behind the scenes stuff, which I think is bullshit.
That hard. I mean, they were literally screaming at these guests right behind the stage to go on. So it seems very hard to be like, I didn't. You could feign I'm trying to go. They say like a deer in the woods or whatever.
Are you
total sidebar? Their brick wall that they were hiding behind, yelling at the producers are yelling at the guests. Reminds me a little bit of our brick wall.
Actually, you're right. It does.
Yeah, I know.
Well, I think it's one of those weird things because he's the face of the show.
Yeah.
He's the host. The show is named after him. I mean, I feel like he had a lot of responsibility.
Oh, yeah,
and
he's going to
didn't
take
do
all the
it.
heat too.
Yeah, but he didn't do it. A perfect example, which kind of made me when that murder happened, and they were going to sue the show. The son or the family of her was going to sue the show.
Yeah.
And Jerry Springer, he was interviewed and asked questions about, it, and he's basically like, I mean, it didn't happen on our show. It's not really our problem.
No,
I was like, dude, but to have such a cavalier, I mean, I know he's just trying to
well, they're trying to distance themselves.
That's when they all shipped off to friggin'
Jamaica.
Yeah. Because they didn't want to be served.
Yeah.
But I just thought that was really disappointing because at least just be he's like, well, it's obviously awful tragedy, but we had nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
And maybe you didn't.
I mean, like you said, there was abuse there before, but I'm sure it didn't. Well, they said that the way we kind of talked about it, so it's like they did the show,
right?
But it was months later that this happened.
Yeah, sorry.
But it was the night that the show aired.
Yes.
Because the boyfriend, husband, whatever, was at a bar watching the episode, getting drunk, and he got really upset, left. And then they went home and
see. This is what happens. We remember things after.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's fine. You'll follow along.
So it was not like they were on the show and the next day it happened. It was months later, but it was the same day that the show episode aired.
But then we can take another standpoint of it. Is that according to them, they picked a certain demographic of people who were, based on their own words, was low income, potentially lower educated people that So were they taking advantage of people who maybe didn't have all the decision-making deductive skills that...
I would say yes.
I'd say yes. Yeah.
Because it's money. Limos. Well, he said, we'll put them in a limo and it blows their mind because half of them don't even have cars.
Yeah, or have never left their town, their city, their state, whatever. Yeah. They were definitely... I guess they're like grifters.
They were predators.
They're grifters is what they were. Yeah, they sell, that's what it is. We'll give you all this stuff, fancy stuff, bring you in, and throw you to the curb.
Yeah, exactly.
Come on here to the show, embarrass yourself in front of the nation.
Yep.
We'll give you $50 or
predatory
whatever.
too.
Yeah, no, it's what it is. Yeah.
Jerry Springer sold his soul for $1.
He did, and I don't care.
And after that, everything was just about making $1. Like, how do we get more ratings? How do we get more bucks?
No, and that's all they cared about was just making money. There's no hey, maybe we shouldn't do this.
Yeah.
No.
See, that's the thing.
Yeah, the Richard Thomas. He's like, I would execute somebody on the show if I could. He's like, I know he's probably saying that as well because this was from an interview back in the 90s.
Yeah.
He's saying that because again, he's the heel, right? He wants to get people to watch, so he's just going to say this outrageous stuff. But he said, "I would execute someone on camera."
Yeah, I mean, I don't.
I think they said Jerry regretted having the white supremacists and then the Jewish group on
I
there
would hope so,
because
his parents survived the
Holocaust.
Yeah, so
exactly.
Like, damn, man, like
it's like
that's kind of fucked up. That he did that. Like
you even went through that show at all. It was kind of like shows your character.
But he kept going with the outrageous stuff. So I don't know.
Well, again, he did taste the money and the fame. It's
right. I understand why he did it. Whether gross, you're disgusting. But here's the thing: is ultimately. Whose responsibility, is it a group effort responsibility or is it the executive producer, Richard, who is approving all these things? I think it lies on Jerry. It was his show. It was his name.
His name's on the show.
He's the face of it. So
to me, we're not doing this.
He could say, I'm not doing that show.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, yeah, because if he doesn't...
Especially once they show, obviously when it first started, they'd be like, fine, you're fired. We'll bring somebody else in. But once it gets... Probably be like, hey,
once he became a personality,
we can we need to pump the brakes here a bit. It's like the Letterman show, Conan O'Brien, Jay Leno.
Oh yeah,
whoever.
If David Letterman was like, we're not having that guest on, that guest isn't coming on.
Exactly, 100%. It's like, yes, there's producers, there's executive producers, there's the networks.
But if he doesn't show up on camera with the microphone,
it's his face, it's his show.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The crowd's chanting Jerry, Jerry. If
Yeah.
you put someone else up there, it's not the same show.
No, exactly. So
that's kind of
Yeah.
a little disappointing. Well, it's a lot disappointing.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
I mean, it's like anyone people do anything to make a buck. That's what it is. And I mean, and
Which
like you see it now on YouTube
Yeah.
all the time,
Well,
different channels.
But
and,
here's the thing:
you
is
know.
I don't fault anybody for hustling and making money. Make your money, but not at the detriment of other people. That's what I don't like.
Well, no, and
Yeah.
that's
And that's exactly what
Yeah.
the show was.
yeah.
It was to the detriment and embarrassment of people who may not, and I'm not saying all of them, but may not have had the proper decision-making skills to be like, you know what,
Or-
I don't
Yeah.
need that free hotel stay in Chicago.
Yeah.
I'm just going to tap out and be good.
Yeah. I mean, granted, most of the people reached out to, so that's the only thing too. It's like, but these,
They called to be on the show.
Yes.
Yeah, they
So-
called to be on a show about, whatever. And then when they get there, they spend 10 hours backstage being coached on
no, but
what
they
to say and do.
they have clearly seen the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
I-
I don't know.
Maybe like the early guests.
Yeah, that's what I'm
maybe.
saying. The first couple of seasons,
Yeah.
but like eventually at some point, people are also, hey, I want to get my 5 minutes of fame too.
Yeah, exactly. I'll
You're
go and punch somebody on.
But if
I'll
the
go and
show-
air my dirty laundry because I'm gonna get a free night. I'm gonna go to Chicago for the weekend. And
But if the show didn't exist, then they wouldn't have to be exploited like that. I don't know. It's a weird thing.
it's a double-edged sword because the show doesn't exist without the guests.
The show brings up a really interesting
know?
question about personal responsibility.
Well, exactly. It's the same thing. It's like, but these people volunteered
Yeah.
Okay.
to go on that
If
show.
you had to pick one person, whether it's guests, Jerry, executive producer, whatever it is, if you had to pick one person that you think is responsible, who would you pick?
That's so hard. So between Jerry and the
Well, anybody, like whether it's Jerry or the executive producer, the network, the guest, like who do you think is responsible for?
I think it was the executive producer. He was the driving force behind making that show like the smut fest it was. And I think everyone bended to his will, even Jerry.
Yeah, but I think it's Jerry. If Jerry didn't get up with the microphone and stand there and talk to those guests, it wouldn't have happened.
yeah.
I think he
Well-
was a puppet.
And
I
he was.
I think he was a puppet, and whoever was sitting at an executive producer chair, Jerry would have followed that guy's lead.
Yeah, but that's
Yeah.
but that doesn't take responsibility off of him because he was a heel who just
it does. He's responsible, but I think he's as equally, or maybe like to the executive producer.
Well, I mean, the
responsible.
executive producer had crazy ideas, but again, like the crazy ideas, the guy making out with a horse on TV wouldn't have happened if Jerry Springer was like, you know what, that's no. Like, we'll do stories about, you're cheating with your brother-in-law.
But then we're
but-
also forgetting, I mean, another thing we're not even talking about is the network.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I said
They're
the
the ones who are
network.
making all
airing
the
this
money. They
stuff.
could have easily have stopped it.
But that's
Yeah.
what I said, the network. Like,
yeah,
who
so
is
that's what I'm
it?
saying.
I
The
don't
network
know.
could have, yeah, but the executive producer, no, I'm not like the network, whoever, like
Yeah.
NBC or
Yeah,
whoever could have said, nope.
Yeah.
Which all comes back to personal responsibility because
Yeah,
they're like, we're putting this out there. If you don't like it, don't watch it.
'cause-
And there's no more show.
Yeah, and it's like we're
but-
putting it out there because we're making a shit ton of money.
Yeah.
I think, and maybe it's just the wrong whatever. I think and generalizing, not every specific person, but just generalizing, I just feel bad for a lot of those guests that were on the show.
No, totally. But I mean, it's like when you look at like where TV is now, like like you watch like you can see the clips on TV of like different like Real Housewives shows and the stuff. They're
Well, of
throwing
course.
punches and attacking each other. So what's the
Yeah.
difference?
They showed a bunch of clips of that, like the
Because
Kardashians and Real
the
Housewives.
difference with that to me,
Because they actually, yeah, you're right. They showed that the Kardashians and stuff
But
all attacking each other.
Yeah.
the difference for me is that the Real Housewives or the Kardashians, they're just let me finish because you're going to interrupt me before I finish my thought and say I'm wrong.
Whoa.
But
Patience on the monument. Sitting right
Because I
here.
can see he's ready to jump on me. Let me finish it because I'm not gonna. It doesn't end how you think it's gonna end. So because it is reality TV. Yeah, but it's reality TV.
That was a solid
but,
Kermit pose.
but they're paid actors.
Yeah.
They're all paid actors. They're all getting a salary to play a role.
Wait, are you saying reality TV is not real?
No, they're not. I mean,
I gotta
maybe no, but I'm just saying, like, it's different to me. It's their real lives and their children and whatever. Like,
Yeah.
as far as that, but they're paid to, like, they're getting paid money to put their life on TV and to put themselves in situations that make things dramatic.
Yeah, and to play devil's advocate, because I don't really care,
Yeah.
I was paid a free trip to Chicago to go and say that I make out with some of my family members.
It's different. It's different levels
They were
of the same thing.
They were paid,
But we're also
and
then.
they knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
Did they all
Of course,
understand
again, everyone knows what Jerry Springer is. You've seen the show.
it? I don't know.
Unless you're a complete
Yeah.
effing moron,
Yeah.
who would watch Jerry Springer and say, that's where I want to go to
They
tell
will.
my
They
story.
will help me if I go on that show.
Or this is where I need to go
Look,
tell my
Yeah.
story.
I don't-
Like,
I think-
look how well it
There-
works out
there
every
was-
episode.
It wasn't like Kardashian level compensation, but there was compensation for these people who
Yeah.
went on the Jerry Springer
They
show.
wanted their 5 minutes of fame too.
Yeah.
They wanted a free trip. They wanted
Sure, some of them
money and
did.
stuff.
Absolutely,
They all
some
did.
of them did. And
All
but
of them did.
I mean, well, but what about the ones that were? What about that lady who went on the show because they said we're going to help you get your ex-husband back? And so
Yeah.
she's like, okay, I'm going to go on the show for that, and then gets there, sits in the chair, and it turns out like, no, the ex-husband's here with his new wife.
Yeah. Well, again, I'm assuming like Jerry Springer's on TV. You can watch it and see what
I don't
it
know.
is.
I mean,
Yeah.
who knows? Like, it's just
there is no right
No,
answer.
there
I mean,
isn't
it's,
a right
it's like,
answer.
It's like going if I go to the bar and get drunk, and I drive and crash my car. Is it my fault that I got drunk? Can I blame the bartender?
No, it's your fault.
But a lot of people say
Well,
no,
I
no,
know.
it's the bartender's fault. Like there's no.
Who the hell goes in Jerry Springer looking for a happy ending to their story?
Well, that's the
Because listen, there's some people out there, like even her own son said, she was extremely lonely. She
Yeah.
she
Yeah.
was not a sociable person. She was kept to herself.
Yeah.
She lived a horribly lonely life. Like, I mean, there are people out there that can't, and I'm not, but I'm just saying there are people out there who can't
No.
understand. They're just like, they're getting validation for something. They can't understand the consequences.
Maybe these guests were exploited by the show, and the Kardashians are being exploited as well.
The Kardashians are exploiting the network. I mean,
the Kardashians exploit themselves.
Well,
Oh, yeah,
I
exactly.
mean, look,
All these reality
I
stars
am
do.
not getting in this argument with Eric because I can already feel my blood boiling.
We're getting long in the tooth of
You
this
can,
time, so yeah.
yeah, whatever, it's fine. You can love or hate the Kardashians all you want, but
Yeah.
I will die on the hill that they are brilliant business people.
And was the Jerry Springer show any less of a brilliant business model?
I never said it wasn't
Both of them made
brilliant.
like crazy ton of money,
Yeah.
exploiting people,
Yeah.
What, the Kardashians are exploiting themselves.
and so these people also exploited themselves. They called up the Jerry Springer show to be on it.
And then when they got there, they were coerced and coached and told
And
what
the
to
Kardashians
say.
are coached by
they're
Purdue.
not.
Oh,
Sure
they're
they
totally
are.
coached.
Well,
the
no, they're
Kardashians,
not
they're
co-
coached.
they're-
So it's the same thing. Is it Ryan Seacrest or
Yeah.
is it the Kardashians?
Yeah.
Who's
Yeah, but the Kardashians aren't on TV making out with horses. There's a different level. Like, they're on TV talking about how they're whatever cheated and had a love child. Whatever, if they want to talk about this, but they're not doing things that are literally illegal on TV.
Yeah.
Doing horrible acts with, your daughter. Like, that is just like literal illegal shit.
Some people would say they're prostituting their families out on that show too, but
Okay,
that's,
you're really reaching with this because you know what I'm saying. Like, the Jerry Springer show literally had illegal shit on it. Literally illegal.
one
like-
yeah, I don't know. I think not some of it.
Yeah.
If you're comparing the Kardashians reality show to the Jerry Springer show, you guys are
I
crazy.
don't think you're far off, to be honest.
Yeah.
And not just the Kardashians, the Real Housewives, all these reality shows, they're all fake.
Yeah.
I'm not arguing that they're fake or not. I'm arguing about the content that they're doing. If they like, I'm talking about like, oh my God, this is so frustrating.
Uh-oh, why?
Because like you have to take into account, and I know I can't speak for every single guest that was on that show. There was literal clips of the producers screaming at the guests to say this and say that. And when they were like, yeah, okay, no, you're not going to say that. You're going to do this. 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 Like, that is like, I don't know what the word is, bullying or
No,
like.
100% it is.
Oh,
yeah.
totally.
So that's different than going to the Jerry Springer show, going backstage and be like, I'm going to tell a story about how I have a love child with my cousin or whatever the case may be. And then out of your own free will sitting there and talking about it. These people were coached and told how to act and what to do.
Well, because they wanted them to fight on camera. They wanted that excitement. It's the same reason why on these Real Housewives shows I know you like to watch, there's a reason they send them to Mexico in an open bar
Well,
full
of
of booze
course.
because they want them
They
to get
want-
drunk and fight.
Exactly.
But I think
they
the-
want that sensational outcome.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's just, I'm not arguing.
Different levels of the same
That's
shit.
what
Yeah.
I'm saying. I'm not arguing that like, what I'm just saying that the content that was on Jerry Springer was completely ridiculous and nobody should have been viewing that.
And I think the Kardashians are completely ridiculous. No one should be viewing them.
Oh my God. But like they're talking about
Yeah.
makeup and like shit. Like they're not talking about, I'm not saying you have to like it, but I'm just saying, I don't know. I don't know if I'm explaining my thing properly, but I just think Jerry Springer show should have never been allowed on the network. It was
Really?
terrible.
I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, who
Yeah,
knows? I
that's my
mean, like
opinion.
their argument is right. We're just putting it out there. People want to watch it. They're going to watch, and clearly people wanted to
People
watch
did.
it.
And that's fine.
They
but I
just attracted the lowest common denominator with the it's not highbrow entertainment. It's lowbrow. It's
I don't know.
trash
I-
TV.
Yeah.
It's garbage TV, but people loved it.
Yeah.
I don't watch the Kardashians or the Housewives or Survivor or any of those other reality shows
all of
and
those
feel
shows.
and feel icky after I watch. In the sense of like, I mean, yeah, I might be like icky. The Kardashians are so damn rich, like, ugh, like not. But after the Jerry Springer and seeing those little clips that I saw, I feel disgusted that I ever watched that show.
Yeah.
It just feels so wrong, and it just did not make me feel nice watching.
I
the
didn't find that.
documentary.
Honestly, no, I didn't find it that.
Well, that's
bad.
fine. You're allowed your opinion.
No, I'm just saying, yeah, but I'm just, yeah, we'll agree to disagree because I think there's a lot of episodes you could talk about other reality shows.
Yeah.
We're not talking about reality shows. We're talking about this documentary.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, and they all just spawned off of Jerry.
Jerry
I
Springer.
think you can thank
Yeah.
Jerry Springer for a lot of these shows.
Yeah.
Good or bad.
Maybe.
He
That's a very
changed
valid
he
point.
changed the type of TV that we watch.
Yeah.
Immensely.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever. It's a debate that'll go on forever.
Well, there's no right answer. You could
No.
be right. I could be right. Eric's right. We're all wrong. Who knows?
Yeah.
You guys can let us know. We've gone on long today.
Yeah.
So that's fine. We're enjoying a conversation.
Yeah.
We're not slaves to the clock. Maybe I'll talk for another 2 hours.
Let's
God.
take a pause for 10 seconds so I can restart
No,
the
we're
camera.
going to wrap it up.
We'll be right back.
Okay, so
That was fun.
Yeah.
I need like a drink or something. I need like one of those.
Join us with the tequila.
No, I'm good. All you can hear is the swishing of the.
Yeah, it's nice. Not sponsored, but good stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so that debate will never end. I mean, we could debate for hours, but I'm
Yeah.
tired. I
Yeah.
don't want to debate anymore.
No.
But we are going to end this episode with the burning question that we started with. Are you going to stream or should you stream or skip this documentary?
I'm gonna say skip. I don't think this documentary. I think it kind of skipped over a lot of like really key points about the Jerry Springer show. So I don't know. I think they could do a better job of like talking about the cultural impact of Jerry Springer and the show. So I'm gonna say skip.
Can I go? Do you want to go or do you want me to go?
I'll go, sure.
Okay, you.
I don't know. You know what? I'll say stream it. Give it a chance. It's fluffy. It's not very hard hitting, like Eric said it. But it's kind of fun watching. So I kind of forgot about some of Jerry Springer stuff.
Yeah.
I haven't watched it in years, so it's kind of fun to see it again. So it's like I think it's like maybe 2 hours. So I'll say stream it. Give it a watch.
Yeah.
I right off the top I kind of said it, and I say skip it. I don't think that it just felt like something was. What?
I got outnumbered.
Oh no.
You had to know that was going to be.
No,
what
I kind of figured as much.
I think because it just was missing something. And again, maybe it was the fact that Jerry Springer wasn't in it.
That
Maybe he
yeah.
wouldn't have been in it anyway.
I think
But
having Jerry.
then, but then they had to make it different so it wasn't feeling that missing part. And I think
No.
it was just
Yeah.
a poorly. I'm gonna be honest. I think it was a poorly put together, produced documentary. It
Yeah.
wasn't. Can I just finish?
Yep. I got something to say.
I know, but I get stressed out because then I forget. I already forgot what I was going to say. I just say skip it. I just don't think it was a well produced. I think there's probably it wasn't very insightful.
I
It
think
was,
That's the biggest thing.
It
It
was
wasn't.
kinda
It wasn't
just-
yeah, you're right. It wasn't very insightful.
I think that was the problem for me. Like it kind of rode the line between like Jerry Springer was entertaining. Let's talk about how fun the show was to watch sometimes, and then the sad, the downsides of the show. Right? It didn't really like hone in on either one. It kind of like rode the line between the two and didn't really tell a solid, compelling story.
no, and I think it either they needed to have. I don't know. Yeah, it just didn't feel complete. It just
Yeah.
felt like kind of like.
it definitely
I
would
don't
have
know.
been
Missing.
better 2 years ago. It would have been a lot more interesting
Yeah.
with Jerry Springer in it for sure.
Yeah, it's missing some key pieces.
And
Yeah.
I think that maybe that's why, because like I said, there was a lot of assumptions, or not assumptions, but like people talking for Jerry, and we
Well,
don't really know. And maybe
Yeah.
now he would be like, you know what, like because again, like we're just left with a lot of answers. And I get
Yeah.
it, he's dead, he can't talk on there.
Yeah.
But they could have maybe made it differently so that wasn't open ended, and you kind of felt like you were missing a chunk. I don't know.
Yeah.
I would just say if you know the Jerry Springer show and you've even seen one episode, you don't even need to watch this documentary. It's fine.
Yeah.
Like it is what you think it's going to be. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah. No, fair
yeah.
enough.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There's our opinion. We watched it, so you
There
guys
you go.
can or don't have to. It's up to you.
So
Yeah.
comment below, let us know if you've seen it, if you're going to see it, if you watch Jerry Springer.
What are
just
your thoughts on
what
this
are your
documentary? Let us know, or the show itself.
thoughts? Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And everybody in the comments say that I'm the winner of the debate.
Ah,
Just kidding. Just kidding. Is there ever winners in a debate?
I don't think there is.
I don't know.
It's just more like if you sway somebody to, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, but that is Jerry Springer.
That's right. Little fight camera action tonight on the the podcast.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh yeah, we even got. Ooh, we should have thrown fits.
Oh, we could have like broke chairs.
But
with
wait.
each
We have
other.
the
But wait,
wall.
we're not being paid to do that. So
No.
That's true.
Okay.
I'll give me a trip to Chicago and I'll do it.
All right, guys, comment below. Let us know your thoughts. But that is it for today's podcast. We thank you so very much for joining us, and we'll see you in the next one.
Take care,
Bye,
everybody.
everyone.
Bye, guys.